Okay, welcome everybody to July Town Hall. As you can see, I'm sitting outside in the wind. I'm currently in the UK. I'm in London, and if any of you are here too, you would know the type of heat wave we're experiencing here. So I'm taking the opportunity to sit in the breeze. So apologies if there's any wind sound coming through a microphone, but it's absolutely necessary in this type of heat. But also a reminder of how climate change is really affecting the world, and that won't be the topic of today's town hall, but just something to touch on. And we're really excited that more sustainability focused organizations are starting to use WhatsApp and chat to have an impact. But today, as you can see my hair flying around, I'd love to see some of your friendly faces as well. Please feel free to switch your videos on. This is going to be a very conversational session. I want you to be as participative as you can. And we always like to see your faces. So videos on as much as you can today. But we've got a really, really exciting lineup for you. So not only is it, we're going to announce and you'll find out more about Accelerator. And I'm been very lucky. I've just had a cup of coffee in London with one of our previous Accelerator participants. So very exciting to kick that off. And Simon will also be chatting through some of our new features and functionality called Build, which we're really excited to share with you today. The team's been working pretty much for the last 6 to 8 months on some really new ways of designing impact services. And I'm really pleased to hear that our community is now over 1,000 members, and we're running about 250 WhatsApp services. So lots and lots happening in this Chat for Impact community. And with no further ado, I'd like to introduce some of our newest community members. So we are working with the Ministry of Health in Chaco province in Argentina on supporting personalized information and reminders around COVID, which is really exciting. DMI has also come on board. They're going to be using WhatsApp in their maternal health program in Tanzania. As I said, Conversation International as well as Vivo Energy are both working in the climate sustainability space, which we're really excited about having them on board. IEBC, so we all know that the Kenyan elections are coming up in the beginning of August. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of Kenya is going to be using WhatsApp to support constituents about the elections. And last but not least, we've got Abalobi, which is a South African global social impact organization that supports fishermen, and they're going to be supporting fishermen on the west coast of Africa and the Comores to save money from the catch. So some really interesting use cases coming on. We're really excited to have you on board. So welcome today. And with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Gustav.
Hi, everybody. Great to see such a fantastic turnout today. I think the community is growing rapidly because people realize what an amazing tool it is to use digital to improve lives. When we set out more than 5 years ago to build this organization, we realized that it would be possible to reach millions of people using chat in secure and safe ways. And last year, we realized during COVID that one of the big challenges that we had and that our organizations had was how to learn and the particular tools to get the support to be able to build their services and to reach the hundreds of thousands or millions of people that they could using these tools. So we launched the Accelerator together with WhatsApp. The inaugural one was last year, where we helped 10 organizations, supported them with mentorship, with cash support to help them build their services. And it was such a success, as Pippa pointed out. We had a number of organizations now in the last year launch services scale to hundreds of thousands of users. We're very happy to announce that we're going to do another Accelerator this year. So it's our second edition of the Chat for Impact Accelerator. This time we want to have even more impact. We're going to grow the cohort to over 100 organizations that we will support with free licensing, with mentorship, with help in building their services and go-to-market strategies. And then we will select this year a larger cohort of 20 organizations that will get $25,000 each in unrestricted funding to help build out their services. The accelerator is launched already, so you can go to our website to do the application. We will close submissions on the 21st of September, at which time we will make the selection, and then the accelerator will run for 6 weeks. And at the end of that, we will announce the winners that have been selected. We're really excited about the program. I'm especially excited to see the type of work in the organizations and the type of the new interventions and the new techniques that they'll come up with. Over the last year, we were so honored and proud to see the work and the type of organizations that did the work. So I would like to, by the way, for any organization that wants to apply, also needs to go through one of the boot camps, and we will be having boot camps throughout the next couple of months. And I'll have Indrani from our team speak a little bit to the boot camps and what we aim to do there. Over to you, Indrani.
Thanks, Gustav. Kanya, could you just move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so this is a slide basically to give you an update on how you can sign up for the Accelerator program, as well as a link there, which we'll share on chat on how you can sign up for the upcoming boot camps. Next slide, please. So earlier this morning, we ran our very first regional bootcamp for Indonesia, and the energy and the interactions in the bootcamp were amazing. We had over 130 organizations register to learn about the best practices to set up an impactful chat service. And they also learned about steps on how to onboard and heard from our community showcases on how they are using WhatsApp to drive scale. As Gustav mentioned, if you are interested in applying to the Accelerator program this year, one of the requirements is that you have to have attended a bootcamp either last year in 2021 or this year. So here are the dates for the upcoming bootcamps. Please register for them by going to the link in chat. And once you've registered, you should receive an invite in your calendar. And through these bootcamps, we are helping you onboard and build a great chat service. So to learn more about our features updates, I'll now hand over to Simon to talk about Build. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Indrani. Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let me just switch over. We're going to be doing some demos today. And those of you who know me know I have a soft spot for live demos, but they're always quite nerve-wracking. So here we go. Can you see my presentation? Yeah, is it full screen? Okay, great. Cool. So the last couple of months, as Pip already said in the intro, was that we've been looking at the various services that have been running on Build and identifying the various needs that they have in delivering an impact. And so you all know Turn over the last 2 years, we've proven that we can scale. All of the most impactful, largest services in the globe run on Turn. And so the scale problem has been solved. We've used threads as a feature, which many of you have used as well, specifically to address data gathering requirements of organizations. And those have served us extremely well as well at scale. And what we've been looking at the last 6 months is specifically, what are the more complicated use cases? What are the more complicated use cases that have evidence behind them that we want to see be replicated by the community and re-implemented? And how can we provide the community with the best tools possible in turn to describe those impactful services and make it easy to share and collaborate around those services? And so this is what we are launching today. Today, it'll be in alpha. You will find it in the UI under a tab called Build. And it's called Stacks. And it's a new way to describe impact services. And we're extremely excited about this. The inspiration for stacks comes from a piece of software called Hypercard, which is a very old piece of software for the original Apple Macintosh, late 80s, early 90s. I don't know if any of you have ever used that software. The older I get, the more I find that less people are familiar with it, which is quite a shame, because it is an amazing piece of software. And the guy who designed it actually described it as a software erector set. For those of you who haven't had the pleasure of being able to work with an erector set, I had a set like this when I was a kid. It's on the right there. And it's basically just very small composable bits that you can combine in different ways to build these incredible contraptions. And Hypercard was described as a software erector set. Very small, simple primitives that can be combined and composed in new, innovative ways, and which created this whole industry of little applications of people who built software simply because they could, without realizing that normally, actually, that should be quite hard. And so people were pleasantly surprised at the software and the little applications that people were able to build with Hypercard, despite it coming across as a bit of a toy. And so for stacks and for build and stacks, which is the language that we've designed for this, where I'm still entertaining this idea of an impact service erector set, the minimum tools, the smallest tools that you can combine in really innovative ways to discover new solutions to problems and to build amazing software solutions, really engaging, impactful services for our community and the people that we are trying to serve. And so now we're going to do some demos. This is my favorite part of a presentation, but also the scariest part. So here's the QR code, and you can scan it, and you can join and experiment with some of the demos that we'll be doing today. So feel free to scan that. It should open your WhatsApp, and it should come with a join code. And I think the keyword it has is Town Hall 07-2022, probably. So I'm just going to switch off my presentation here for now, and then we can, sorry. Yes. Now I'm going to switch over to the live environment. There we go. Okay. So this is now an empty environment. For everyone who has a Turn account, this will become available to you. It's called Build. It's still in alpha.
Simon,
so
can you zoom up? Can you zoom up your font for the older people in the room who know what erector sets are?
I will. Nice. I will do so shortly. So I'm going to create a stack here. Oh, hang on. Let me just reload this. Okay, I'm going to create a stack, and I'm just going to load some demos. We've got some demos up here. These are all available as playbooks, and these will be available to you all in the community as playbooks. But I'm just selecting them quickly here. The preview on the right is a WhatsApp simulator, which provides you with the exact same environment as WhatsApp, and that you can interact with as you describe and author your service and just see, does this feel good? Is this native? Does this feel native to WhatsApp as a medium? So I'm going to go over the first tutorial, and it's called My Stack, which is not all that interesting. But you'll see that stacks are essentially, well, the way these systems are built up is that you describe your service as a stack, and a stack is a group of cards. And so you can combine cards in stacks, and each stack has a particular service that describes either a section of your impact service or the whole thing or whatever. So this is the first card, and the first card is always the first point of entry into these little applications that one would build. So the first card is called My Card, and you'll see here, this is a code environment, and you can say, okay, I want an image and I want a piece of text. And if we do the simulator, there we go. It'll say, hi there, and it'll generate that image for us. Now, this is just a default placeholder image. Now, the interesting thing is that we see more here than what's described here. And that's because we're saying then profile card, which essentially is an automatic sequencing of your cards. Once we've handled this card, we've done hello there with the image, we proceed to profile card. profile card has a single button called Update Details, which is here, and a bit of text that says WhatsApp tells me your profile name is @contact.whatsapp profile name. So we're introducing a few new concepts here. We're introducing buttons as a means of navigation, and we're introducing something called expressions, which is used at contact.whatsapp profile name. And this does automatic substitution of any of your contact profile fields. So even if you've got custom fields, you can immediately insert that for a degree of personalization. Now, the testing environment will will generate a fake persona for me. And so this fake persona seems to have the WhatsApp profile name called Strack. I don't know where that comes from, but it generates it automatically for you. Gustav, I'm seeing you squint. There we go. Is that better? So here we are, WhatsApp. You can see we're using the usual WhatsApp formatting with asterisks for bold. And it tells me my profile name is Strack. Now that's not my name, so I want to update my details. And so I click the button Update Details. Now that takes me to the card called Update Details. You'll notice here that cards have a display text. And the display text is automatically put on the card when you refer to it. And so now it's asking me a few things. What is your name? Simon. Says, thanks, @name. Again, an expression substitution. What is your surname? Dahan. Now it says, great, your details have been updated to contact name, contact surname, which says here. So now my contact details are Simon Dahan. And now, again, we're using the den and we're referring to my card again. Now we've got a second my card that says, if the contact name has been updated, then show a personalized experience. And so what we're doing here is that for returning users, we're able to provide a personalized experience that remembers their contact fields, automatically fills it in. And so rather than doing the anonymous one, which we had at the top, hello there, it's now done a couple of things. It's inserted my name on the image. It's inserted my name and my surname. It says welcome back rather than, your general hello. And then it goes, when that's done, it goes back again to profile card, which is the card we've specified here. And again, I can update my details. So if I do Gustav Breakout, you'll see it's updated. And so stacks are a way to describe your service in the metaphors of cards that essentially is a stack of cards and the ways that you interact between them and allow you to do a degree of personalization that before was just not possible. So that's the first little demo I wanted to show you all. Next one. The next one's going to be fun because it's going to be interactive. Webhooks, sessions, and a game of Hangman. It sounds like a really bad novel, but here we go. So one of the key things that we realize is that these impact services rarely run on their own. They often need to interact with another service with a bit of information that's available hosted externally, be it a patient record for medical information, be it job openings or things like that. And so we needed to make it really easy to integrate with external services. And so this is a little contrived demo that shows you how to interact with an external service. And so this is a little game called for Hangman. And so we've got an API that does Hangman. So if we do hi, now again, it's giving me a random name. That's just how the simulator works for now. And it's giving me a 4-letter word. Indrani, give me a letter.
Fort. F.
F. Nope.
R.
Anyone else want to guess? Let me open the chat and see what people are saying. It's usually good to always start with the vowels. A, there we go. No A. O.
O.
Nope. E.
What?
I.
Yeah.
T. Saw an L there. Nope. Wow, how hard is this 4-letter word?
M.
M.
No.
It's like a game of word.
Oh.
U, G, W, S.
L. L.
I know Nivi is a client of ours, but it's unlikely that that's going to be it.
But then it should show up the I twice.
Nick?
Oh,
Yay!
yeah.
So you can do, and then what this essentially does is you've got a bunch of cards that check. First it does, it hits the API to find out a random word. And then you interact between your cards to say, hey, is this letter in this word? Yes or no? And so these are all little demos that are available to everyone. And so you can see that all of the green here is essentially just explanation of how this works. Everything that's not green is the actual little application. So in about probably 15 lines of code, we've got a little Hangman game here, which is quite fun. A WhatsApp version of Wordle. Oh, that's going to be fun. Okay, cool. Next one. Oh, sorry. Lists, expressions, and a math quiz. So a feature we've had a lot of requests for over the last few months is, when do you introduce support for lists, list buttons, quick replies? How do you make that easier? And so we've heard you, and we're introducing it as part of build. And it's this is a great little demo for that. So what we're doing here is a little math quiz. So the first card, again, we've got a stack. Stack has a bunch of cards. So the first card in here asks us to select a table with a little emoji. It gives us a little header to say, welcome to math class. We'll help you become a multiplication pro. Which multiplication do you want to practice? So if we go hi, there you go. Now it's given us a list button. So say, I'm going to go for 2, because actually, despite me being a CTO, my arithmetic skills are quite poor. And 2 is quite easy. So here we go. What's 2 times 1? Well, that was very easy. So the interesting thing here is that we are generating a random number between 1 and 10. And then we are multiplying it by the table that we selected in the list. So in the list, we said we want 2. Now we generate a random number, and then we ask, what is 2 times random number? In this case, it generated 1 as the random number. But then how does it know that this is actually correct without us specifying upfront all of the possible, 1 times 1, 1 times 2, 2 times 2, all those variations? And so what we do here is, again, this is a guard. And so it basically checks, before we go to the answer, if the user supplied answer is equal to the random number times the table, so we're actually letting the computer do the work. If that is true, then we can show this answer. And so that is correct. Now, if we're doing the same, so we're doing something obviously wrong, it says that's incorrect. And that's because this guard on this table is not true. And so it goes to the second answer. And then it says that's incorrect, and it'll tell you the right answer. And so now we've got a little math quiz for all possible multiplications for tables 1 through 10, which will help people with their math skills, which would be quite useful for me. Now we can go, again, we've got buttons. Now we've got 3 quick reply buttons. We can either go select the table, which does what we think it does. But you can also do I'm feeling lucky. What the I'm feeling lucky does is it generates a random table. And again, we're using the same random function to generate a table name. And so now it's doing 6 times 2, which is 12. Again, 7 times 6 is, this is where I go. So this shows you that you can create all these little stacks, little applications that integrate with external services that allow you to build really impactful, highly engaging services in ways that we've not been able to support before. And so one of my favorite ones is, again, coming back to this idea of an erector set. Small, composable, reusable little functions that together actually create a very compelling user experience. And so all of the things that we've shown now, up until now, is what also allows this one, which is the BBC World Service podcast. And so what this does is we download the podcast information from the web, which the BBC publishes for us. We automatically generate an image for that based on the podcast information. The climate chief warns humans are poisoning the planet, which refers back to, again, Pippa's opening remarks around the heat wave that all of Europe is in. But this is now a completely dynamic stack, which pulls in podcast information for any podcast. I've just chosen the BBC, but any podcast out there we can support this for. And it'll dynamically generate the content for you for that podcast and generate an experience. And so we can go next episode, which is the quick reply buttons that we were looking at earlier. It's a different card. We can go to all episodes. It'll show us the 10 last episodes, which is the list reply that we were looking at earlier. And so for each of these, it also sends the audio file. And so
hello, this is the Global News Podcast.
There's the BBC
World
podcast
Service with reports and analysis.
And so we're quite excited about this idea of a erector set for impact services. Small reusable tools, components that can be published as playbooks, as public common goods for people to start reusing and building on, and especially the ones that are evidence-based, so that we know if you implement it this way exactly as per the playbook, then there is a very strong guarantee that you will have the desired impact that that playbook actually provides the evidence for. And so right now we've been looking at the code environment, and this is the first release. This is the alpha release. Now going back to the presentation. Let me just share my screen again. And so not everyone is always familiar with code, nor is code always the best solution to describe these services in. And so the next iterations that we will be working on, this is why this is still an alpha, and for some parts still for expert users, but not exclusively. The next iteration will be a no code or low code environment. And so we've already spoken about all of these things that are listed here: stacks, cards, and their content. Stacks have cards. Cards have their content, and these are the messages and the reply buttons and the lists and things that we were looking at and describing earlier. And so the question is, how do you create these if you're not comfortable necessarily with code or not yet? Now, so the next version that we will be working on is either to continue using the code version or use something called smart blocks. And these are pre-made components that address a specific need. For example, an opt-in, sending an audio with a caption, an image with a caption, that kind of stuff. And so these can be of many types, and we will provide a bunch of smart blocks that we know are often needed. And so that will provide you with a UI where you can provide all the information that is relevant for your specific smart block. And that will then generate the code for you. And so it'll write it out. And so you can inspect to find out, hey, how is this actually working? But without needing to write it yourself. And so composing these things, again, in the metaphors of this software erector set, we provide the code, we provide the building blocks, the smart blocks that generate the code for you for the reusable patterns that you know that you or we already know that you need. And that will allow you to generate and build your impact service using what's called Build, which is available to everyone as of today. Now, we already touched on this a little bit the last few weeks, or last town hall. All of this is built on the open source Flow Runner, which we are releasing. It is built on open standards. And so why we are excited about this is that it strengthens the whole Chat for Impact community. The services that you describe in Build, you can download and take to other service providers or partners that are also active in the impact space, and reuse those and run them on different channels if you need to. And so we're very excited because these impact services can be published as playbooks in the community. They can be available as public common goods and really delivering the best of class evidence-based Chat for Impact solutions. And so we think with Build, we're really putting the community in a position to deliver impact with everything that private and secure chat has to offer. Build highly personalized, engaging, deeply integrated services with real-time and instant feedback. So we're very excited. It's available today. And we're really looking forward to see what you all will be building with this. And we're excited to hear your feedback. So with that, let me stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand over to Mitali, who is junior economist at ID Insight, Mitali Mathur, who's presenting as part of the community showcase. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be able to join this event. I'm going to present today on a project that we did with Hypercard. Can you go to the next slide, please? Just wanted to give a little bit of context about ID Insight. ID Insight is a global advisory data analytics and research organization where we just try to use data and evidence to help inform policy. We've been working on many projects with Hypercard.org, and today I'm going to present on one of the projects we did with them on COVID-19, which is a light touch way to leverage some of the existing digital tools in impactful ways. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I'll just provide a little bit of context of the project we did. So we were working with, we were introducing an experiment with a platform called COVID-19 Connect in South Africa, which is a platform that users in South Africa use to get a variety of information about COVID-19. And one of the features is something called Health Check, which is essentially a symptoms tracker where users can answer questions about some of the symptoms they may be feeling. And as a result of those answers, they get a response of their risk level of having COVID-19. So this is the platform that used some of the digital tools that we've been discussing. So we did a study using this platform, and it was in the context of a university setting under an initiative by Higher Health in South Africa that mandated that only people who fill out the symptoms tracker and get a low risk status are allowed on campus. And we had hypothesized that since many people knew about COVID, this study was done in March of 2022, that if they wanted to come to campus, they might be able to fudge their symptoms a bit because they had awareness of like which symptoms are the symptoms of COVID. So we did a study, a randomized control trial, which is a method of causal inference to see if we can nudge people to honestly report their symptoms. Could you go to the next slide, please? So we did this by sending different types of messages to different people, and we randomly assigned about 20,000 users in different groups. Some people answered these health check symptoms questions, and then after the fact got a message asking if they were honest when they answered the questions. Some people got a message before the symptoms tracker asking them to be honest just generally. Some people got a message before the symptoms questions asking them to be honest for the good of their community, so trying to pull at some social appeal. And then finally, some people got messages before answering these symptoms questions asking them to be honest because if they lie, they risk harming their colleagues, their students, their lecturers, etc. So we wanted to know which of these small interventions that, you know, just harness the power of digital tools and was just a sentence nudge could improve the honest reporting of COVID symptoms. So how did we measure honesty? Well, in this context, if someone were to have COVID and were honest about it, they could avoid spreading it in two ways. First, by not answering all of the questions, so then they wouldn't even have a status to show to get on campus. And second, if they answered honestly and actually got that high risk status. So I'll explain the results of those now. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So the first outcome, that was our primary outcome, was the proportion of completed health checks, which were defined as someone answering all of the questions. And we actually found that people in the treatment groups who received some messages completed fewer health checks. And it might seem a little small, but these were actually statistically significant differences from users who did not get one of the set messages. So this was a proxy for avoiding campus, and it showed that some people might avoid campus on their own accord by just not filling out the tracker. Can you move to the next slide, please? Our second outcome was the number of days per week in which campus was avoided. And this was calculated by either having an incomplete health check where they didn't answer all the questions, or completing the health check and having a high or moderate risk. And we again found statistically significant differences between people who received some of the messages that we sent out and people who didn't. And so we found particularly high were the users in treatment 3, where they received the salience of consequences message. And we basically found, I know the decimals might seem small, but essentially this boils down to the fact that users in the control group avoided campus maybe three days in a semester, but users in the 3rd treatment group avoided campus 4 days per semester. And this was backed by some secondary analysis where people reported more symptoms, more fevers, more sore throats, spent more time filling out the tracker. Can you go to the next slide, please? So what does this mean? We know that these differences may seem small, but so is the intervention. We just added a couple of extra sentences into existing WhatsApp messages, but we did find some statistically significant results. And the main takeaway that I hope everyone has from this is that behavioral nudges are a light touch way that can be integrated into WhatsApp and other messaging tools. So they really can leverage the power of these tools to potentially improve behavior. So yeah, the technology is really awesome and it's great to hear about this. But another thing that can be implemented when thinking about the tools that you are creating is the language you're using within that. And this is one example of a behavioral nudge we found to be effective, was just highlighting in particular the salience of consequences of not doing a healthy behavior. So yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vitali. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post them in the chat or switch on your mic and your video and say hi and ask your question directly. Both on the study as well as on the technology, please feel free to ask any questions, and we can either answer them directly now, or we can always send questions through to Vitali and team afterwards to get follow-up if needed. So, opening the floor.
Sorry, I have a question, if you can hear me. I have a bit of a flaky internet.
Yes,
so
go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I'm pretty new to Turn.io, to the functionality and how this works, the design of, how you can design the content. But I'm just curious to hear if, especially with the new functionality, the new features, where you access services through API, is there any kind of multilingual support there in terms of how you can manage different languages, different scripts, and so on?
Yeah.
If it makes sense.
Yeah, there is. Sorry, I still see Pippa, you're on Spotlight, so I don't know if you can see me on camera, but this is Simon. It is possible. I'm happy to create a demo for that and share it with you all. Actually, I should publish a playbook so that others can learn from this. Stacks have translation support, and so we do have services already live that make use of this. So yeah, that's the answer. It is possible, and it's ready as of today. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I mean, you use machine translation then. That's what you're, or what when you say translation support. Yeah, so it is possible to hook up machine translation and use an API for that if you are interested in doing such a thing. I don't have an API readily available that does that. What is available today is essentially if you have a service and you say you want to provide, let's say you've got a service that does like the little demo that we had, and so you want to translate the buttons to, say, from English to Spanish and allow the user to switch between those. Stacks allow you to provide the text in Spanish for all those labels, so that when a user selects the Spanish language or changes their language of preference,
that then all of the interactions for that stack would be in Spanish going forward.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
But I'll share a demo and I'll publish that as a playbook in the community.
Thanks, Simon. Are there any other questions, either for Simon or Natalie? Okay, they obviously did such a good job at explaining things. But please do feel free if anything comes to mind or you have any follow-up questions. Don't hesitate to send them through to us, and we will pass them on and get your answers or connect you guys directly. So I just want to say a big thanks to Natalie. For me personally, the inner behavioral scientist in me is very happy when I see randomized control trials being run on turn, and yeah, that we're really passionate here about building the evidence base of that chat can have an impact. And I think this is a really great case study of how some small changes can really make a difference. And so thanks so much for sharing your experience there. And if any of you are running any other research projects and want to showcase them in town hall, we'd love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to reach out as well. And of course, we have our community forum as well as our LinkedIn group. They're great places to connect and to get to know one another, but also for you to share what you're working on, what you're struggling with, any challenges, and for the community to share their wisdom as you go forward. And that is the end of our session for today. But I really hope that you're as excited as I am about what's going to be coming up in the next couple of months, like the ability to test out these new tools. For me, who's a little bit intimidated by code, I can't wait for the new build UI that's coming in the future. But I'm also equally excited about getting a whole lot of you involved in boot camps, as well as the accelerator towards the end of the year, and being able to spend more time supporting you. We are always here. So please don't hesitate to get onto our support line or contact us in any other way. But thank you so much for attending today, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Please stay safe in the heat if you're in Europe, and in the cold if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.